The month of May is here, and for racing fans worldwide, but especially those in the US, this is a very special month of racing, as in IndyCar everything revolves around Indianapolis and the Indy 500. While the Indy 500 rather is at the end of this month, there will be a lot of testing, preparation and of course a race at the road course version of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And to this circuit, Formula 1 is no stranger either. From 2000 to 2007, the United States Grand Prix was held here, albeit on a slightly different layout than what is used by IndyCar nowadays. And many people, myself included, actually liked this track back in the day. And it has produced a lot of memorable races, mostly in a positive way. So why isn't it on the calendar anymore? Well, Indianapolis is kinda scorched earth for Formula 1 nowadays after that absolutely farcical 2005 race there. I've linked a very informative video by Aidan Millward on this in the info card on the top right of your screen right now, if you're interested or unaware of what happened at Indy 2005. Here is a very shortened version by me. New road surface, a banked corner, faulty Michelin tyres, stupid tyre changing rules and stubbornness from Ferrari and the FIA meant only 6 cars started the race, 4 of them backmarkers. Anyway, F1 left after 2007, the race where a young German substitute driver named Sebastian Vettel took his first points in his maiden race. And after that, Formula 1 never came back here. So with 3 F1 GPs in the US nowadays and maybe even more to come, let's see how a lap around the modern Indianapolis road course layout would look like in a modern F1 car. What are my first impressions? They're pretty good. It is a very short lap, but so is the Red Bull Ring, and also like the Red Bull Ring, the track is quite enjoyable. One of the few good road courses of oval tracks there is. I remember racing here in F106 on my PS2 back in the day, and I always liked it. Glad that hasn't changed even with the new layout. On safety grounds, this track could live up to F1 standards as well, seeing it only got safer since we aren't going through that last banked corner anymore that caused chaos in 2004 and was one of the many reasons for 2005's shit show. But what would the actual racing look like? Can we see good side-by-side action here as well? Let's find out in a short 5-lap race around this circuit. And here we are on the grid in last year's Williams, 5 red lights and it's lights out and away we go, and we get a good start off the line. This is of course the opposite direction that the oval course is going, and into turn 1, which is still the chicane we know from Formula 1 back in the day. These right left chicane, the best overtaking spot on the track probably, and of course a lot of chaos in lap 1 there, but we make it through unscathed, which is pretty important of course. And then we go to the part that is a bit changed. Now it's just a slight chicane on towards a second good overtaking opportunity on this longer straight in the infield that leads towards a 90-degree corner here. We don't dare to make any moves right now, and now through a bit more of a technical bit here. And this is where we're going back onto the oval, and on the old layout we would just now stay on the oval to the start-finish line, but now there's another bit that gets around the banked corner, a very slow bit here, but also into the first right-hander you could overtake, and now back on towards the main straight, and that has already been the first lap of this 5-lap race here. We're up in P15, and if you're seeing some cars that you don't know livery-wise, this is the F1 grid for my Dream F1 season I'm currently doing, where I drive my own Formula 1 season in my very own calendar with my own team, and of course a Porsche team that is taking the 12th spot on the grid. And yeah, if you want to check it out, I'll leave it linked in the info card as well. As we are now going back to the racing action, where nothing is happening right now, but I'm closing up to Daniel Ricciardo in the McLaren ahead. And back onto the oval bit we go. We are a little far away to try a lunge into that right-hander here. This is where I meant the lap earlier, where you could also try a surprise move around the outside. We weren't able to do anything against the Australian. And now on the start-finish straight, we are not close enough to make a move once more, as our exit wasn't the greatest. But Kobayashi in the STV racing car is defending against Ricciardo. We try around the outside, but we run a little wide, and therefore Ricciardo slips through again. And we have to stay in 15th. We were up for a bit there, as we are now still trying to find a way past these two, as we could definitely go faster. But I think, even though if we're just in lap 3, you could definitely race here. Even the AI is trying to make moves and has already done moves ahead of us. So this is working kinda good, or kinda well, as we're trying to surprise Ricciardo into the right-hander here. But this time we try to get a better exit out of this corner, as now it is pretty much flat-out racing to the line, and of course to turn 1 as well, which is the single best overtaking spot on the track. And Ricciardo this time tries it on the inside against Kobayashi, and we try to be late on the brakes. We don't get a move done, but Ricciardo is still side by side with Kobayashi, and you can go side by side through that bit of the track here, but Ricciardo still has to stay behind. Now we may be getting a chance on the second straight here. Lift off the throttle for a bit to not run into Ricciardo's back, but still getting a good exit on towards that straight on the infield, and late on the brakes into the left-hander here. We'll make it past both of them and are now up into P13. So we actually used the second best overtaking spot on this track to make a move on 2 cars. Of course, benefiting from their battle they had after turn 1 and the complex that followed. So we were able to take advantage from that. And now let's see another group of cars ahead here. That is led by a Haas that is holding up everyone. Of course, back in the day, when Formula 1 still raced here, you could say it is the Trulli train, which was a thing back in the day. Jarno Trulli holding up everyone, kind of like Alonso used to do a couple of times in the 22 season, when he was holding a lot of cars up in his slow Alpine. And right now we see this happening with the Haas here as well. And you see him again talking while I'm trying to close the gap as well. I was a little bit too busy switching our battery modes that I almost spin into the left-hander, where a lap earlier we made a double overtake. So from hero to zero for us in that corner in just 1 lap. Yeah, I got a new steering wheel ahead of recording that video, so if stuff like that happens, that is mostly down to me being unfamiliar with my new equipment. And that has already been a 5-lap race. This was kind of surprising. I thought we were on lap 4, but yeah, apparently that was already it. So Let's draw a conclusion of what we have seen here. It certainly is a way more enjoyable venue than Miami, for example, and probably Las Vegas as well, but we haven't seen a race there, so maybe it can surprise us. And if F1 were not just adding F1 races for that bling bling ka-ching ka-ching in shiny on the outside, boring on the inside venues, I think Indianapolis would be a much better venue for a United States race outside of COTA. Not only would they race at a proper track with a more interesting layout, but they would also acknowledge American motor racing history by going to the prime racing venue in the United States. But unfortunately, I have the feeling that that is just wishful thinking by me. And that has been it for today's video. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Also leave a comment with which tracks you want to see covered in this series as well. And subscribe if you want to see more. I hope to see you all the next time. Until then, goodbye.